Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Miguel with SoCal Watch Reviews. Today we're going to be taking a look at a watch that's very cool, and with the hype around that Blancpain that just released with Swatch, I think honestly this is a way better watch. You will see why. It costs around, say, maybe a little bit more, sub $500, but I think this watch is phenomenal. The company's name is Fleux, FLX001, and they have two dial variations. They do have a California dial, which the model number is FLX002, but today we will be taking a look at the FLX001, which doesn't have any numerals on the actual dial, just on the bezel. It was my choice. I think it's really cool. It does feature an NH movement, so I think we all need to take a step back, because a lot of us, including myself, are driven so much on specs, when in reality aesthetics should really be a big part of why you buy a watch, not just specifically on specs. For this price point, obviously you're like an NH movement and it doesn't even have a bracelet, just a strap, and maybe a lot of money. But I'm telling you right now, this watch is definitely worth the money. The price is very well finished. And let's start off with the specifications of this watch. The whole case is stainless steel, 316L stainless steel. It is 200 meters water resistant. The case is 38 millimeters from lug to lug, 47 millimeters, and between the lugs 20 millimeters, and it's only 12 millimeters thick, and that is from the bottom of the lugs to the top of the bezel. Now, it does feature a Hesalite double dome crystal. Again, it's one of those things that you're like, hey, it doesn't have a sapphire crystal for this price, but it doesn't matter. It's almost like looking at the Speedmaster, right? I mean, those are in the thousands and people are still okay with that. There's just this warmth that you get in these distortions that you get with Hesalite that you don't with sapphire, and it's actually very, very nice. The case is finished very nicely for the price. Mostly is, you know, brush, but does have a polished chamfers. I do like that. And of course the case design is very 70s. It's that H style kind of skin diver type of case that really remind me of the 62 MAS or my beloved Seiko SPB 143. So I absolutely love that, but it does give you the sense of a Blancpain 50 fathoms, doesn't it? Especially with the old kind of radium look on the dial, and very similar to kind of like a Blancpain 58 with that kind of old style lume on it. But let's kind of cover that dial. So of course they do have the California dial, which I think is very cool, but I went with this one, and the reason for it is because this one actually has markings on the bezel, and I just like markings on the bezel. But yeah, the dial is actually executed very well. I do like the orange on that minute's hand. It's very cool. There's kind of like a line in between, and of course that little seconds hand kind of ties it all together. Their logo can be seen at the bottom at the 6 o'clock, and at first glance, guys, this kind of reminded me again of the 50 fathoms. There were some watches they had for a moisture detector, right? So at first glance I was like, wait, is that a moisture detector? I'm like, no, that's just a logo, which can also be seen on the screw down crown of this watch. And just a lovely watch. Honestly, it's just a very clean, very simple design. Cannot go wrong with this design, and at first glance it's just nice, and you pick it up and actually it feels very well constructed. Something interesting to note is the indices on the top portion are actually thicker than the ones at the bottom. Not really sure why. My friend Watch Chris, if you haven't seen his video, check it out. He said maybe it was for kind of direction, you know, when you're diving and maybe you see some of the lume, perhaps, you know, it's an indicator that's the 12 o'clock. Speaking of the bezel, it kind of caught me off guard. I thought it was a unidirectional, you know, 120 click or whatever, but it wasn't. It's actually a bidirectional friction bezel, which kind of really took me by surprise. Not really sure why the company went that route, but it has a good kind of friction to it. I'm just always scared that if I was diving for reals, I'll be scared that I'll be knocking this around and kind of lose track of the time that I was down there. But very nice, you know, you do find some numerals here on the other watch, the California dial. You do not. But yeah, I really do like it. Now, speaking of lume on this, it has Superluminova C3, what they call radium. It's very nice. Actually, it glows very nice under UV light. It glows for a while. Very similar to Seiko, and maybe not as bright, but I was impressed impressed. I didn't really know what to expect, so I was very pleasantly surprised by that. On the case back, just very sterile. It has what they call an OG case back engraving, so it has the name of the company. Now these are numbered, individually numbered to 300, so that's very cool when they're all numbered 115 out of 300. That is very nice. Nice wearing watch. I have a 6 7/8 inch wrist. That's 17.14 centimeters for my friends out of the US. It wears very well, is very comfortable. However, not everything is unicorns and rainbows with this watch. One of the things that I don't like is the strap on this guy. So what the company is saying is that this is recycled ocean plastic. The strap does feature a quick release system, which I like, but the strap is very stiff. I'm not sure if you wear it for a long time if it will be very comfortable or not, but in my opinion, I just didn't like it. Therefore, I reached out to my friends at Artham, and they actually sent 2 of their new straps, the HydroFlex hybrid straps, one of them in gray, one of them in a blue color. And let me tell you, these have FKM. They call it HydroFlex FKM watch strap with gray stitching, and the other one is blue. The material on this is just insane. It's so different than their old school kind of silk cloth straps. They're not inexpensive. They're like 218 bucks, but they're definitely well worth it, especially, you know, you could switch them up on different watches and it just makes this watch feel completely different, right? And I truly recommend them. Again, they're not for everybody. They are on the high end, but they're very cool. I do like them. I recommend them. Go check them out. I'll leave a link to their website below. Powering this watch, of course, we set as an NH movement, NH38A movement to be exact, beats at 21,600 beats per hour. Of course, you know, it's minus 20 plus 40 seconds per day. Not great. A lot of times we don't get that right. It's more in the 10-second range or probably less. It does feature 41 hours of power reserve. It's a tried and tested movement. We all know it. I don't know if we all love it, but I never had an issue with it. I think it's pretty cool. I prefer a Miyota movement just because of the higher beat. However, Miyotas tend to be a lot louder with that rotor, so I don't mind an NH movement. Even the packaging on this is very nice. They do give you a Saffiano leather flat pack travel watch box that you can, I guess, use for other watches. Yeah, overall, I like this watch. It's obviously not perfect. I would change a few things like the bezel. I just prefer unidirectional clicking bezel, if I'm being honest. The strap, not great, but the watch itself is a handsome watch. Feels well built, well executed. The dials are very nice. Either you go with this one or you go for the California dial. It's a win-win in my opinion. I do recommend them. Again, $4.99, maybe not the cheapest out there for watches with an NH movement, but very handsome. If you like vintage watches but you want modern specs and you want to go diving or get in the water, whatever, this is definitely the watch for you. So I will leave a link to their website and to their Instagram in the description. Let me know what you think. Again, this is very cool just because I like these vintage style watches, especially skin divers is kind of my jam. So guys, thank you so much for the support. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. Until next time, stay humble.